Dune. For many of us, this world is associated with something pleasant from childhood. For some, this is the most unusual fantasy film from the 80s. For some, this is a legendary book by Frank Herbert, and not only. For some, it's also warm lamp evenings for video games of the Dune series. But there was also a series and more than one. We can say that Dune is a huge pillar in science fiction, which has become truly popular. But not for me. Somehow all this has passed me by, and I generally do not feel any awe of the Dune, as if a small warning to all fans of the above. My review do not that concept books and old movie, video games and TV series at all, because I am not familiar with it. Moreover, I believe that in order to watch a movie that is not sequel, prequel or something to the original films, do not have to read, watch or play anything. After all, the film is positioned as an independent work and must have its own history, and I don't have any certain emotional attachment to Dune, and this world doesn't mean almost anything to me. So, this is a KinoFint channel and a review of the film Dune from a person not previously familiar with Dune. Dune is a desert planet of Arrakis in the distant future, strikingly important because spice is extracted on it, an important component for interstellar travel as well as substance with which you can prolong your life and pump the brain. Arrakis is the only planet where the resource can be extracted at all. Respectively, the one who owns the right to extract space is the master of life. The Emperor removes the one governor from the management of the planet Baron Harkonnen and appoints another, Duke Atreides. However, the former manager did not particularly like such gambling estates, and he decides to regain power and the source of wealth by force. And the new feudal lord, together with his family, is still taking control of the new place at work and resistance. By the way, life on Arrakis is not sugar. The high temperature, the pathogenic climate, and the incredible danger of fauna make living on it not particularly attractive. And the local people, freemen, inhabitants of the desert, try to not interfere in the affairs of the miners. This is actually the basis of the plot. In fact, perhaps the Dune world is much deeper, only this is not particularly clear from the film, but it's still worth making a reservation. The film is planned as a kind of the trilogy. Besides, there should still be a separate series complementing it. This is the only first part. I don't know what will happen in the second one yet, so the worst thing I was afraid of was not understand if the authors start leaving plot holes in the film, referring to the books, for example. Fortunately, this did not happen. Director films coped quite well with the plot that was in it. There are a minimum of the white spots left for me, and so for me as untreated viewer the afraid of Dune, the film did not seem to be somehow complicated and prehensible, but at the same time I can say that it was left in some kind of ecstasy. Dune made an impression on me in an ordinarily pacing film overloaded with pathos on the monarchical theme. Unfortunately, I can't stand the epic pathos of the plot almost anywhere. Perhaps that's also why I don't watch fantasy film, because it's often saturated with this very thing. Besides, I'm not a fan of monarchies, so it's also pass there. Well, it seems that we should have a space fantasy plot and the dynamics. Is there still a war going on? No, there is no space as such in the film. It was all left behind the science. The dynamics are there for 15 minutes, and at the same time it somehow seems strange to me that a civilization that has mastered interstellar travel and heavy artillery is nevertheless waging war with swords, knives and the spears. Perhaps this is somehow due to the plot, but the authors have not yet reached the point, and therefore the Dune sequel becomes a film of great hopes in the future. After all, he will have to go explain all the plot inconsistencies, the shortcomings in good way. Besides, apparently the wild trilogy has a standard dramatic 3-act narrative system, and in this film we saw only the one act. The accordingly two more remain of the sequel. There is nothing like that here, only the problem is that this film has not been shot yet, and whether it not be shot is still a question, especially in the conditions of the pandemic rental. As for acting, it is quite on the level, as well as the technical components of the film. By the way, that is, the film seems to have a great picture, good music, and in general, when viewing it, a positive impression of immersion in the film is still created. But there are two buts. Firstly, too pricey. The film solely for the atmosphere and the picture in 2021 is somehow strange. Secondly, the film is incredibly stretched. That is 2.5 hours going on, and almost every scene seems to be specially stretched just as much as possible. I don't know for what reason the authors did this, but in the end, it seems to me that if he did not pull me the time, the Academy, well, have the events at 2 films in the same 2 or 3 hours, and the impression will be better. To be honest, the truth that in the first half of the viewing I would just fall asleep. I was even funny about it that no matter how I tune it out. So, and it did not seem to me alone that a film was stretched. Yes, of course, as stats can be run up now and right that I didn't understand anything, that I watched fake movies like movie comics and expected that every movie there will be blow everything up and make funny jokes. But no, you know, I watch a different movie, and for example, I don't really like some comedies. If you go on to shoot serious epic fiction, there are first shoot it with meaning, and do not stretch the science like dialogues and the size for 3 hours. Dilute them with huge plans of the desert landscapes. If I would like to match something like this, I was it's Tarkovsky Stalker or Jerry from Gus Van Sant. And with a due respect, these films are really not for everyone. I think it's obvious, and it turned out that the Dune is either a kind of science fiction and a house or a huge trailer for the upcoming sequel. Yes, you can also write that this is the Denis Villeneuve, the best director of the decade and all that. So what? Everyone, even coolest directors has failures. Death Proof, Dunkirk, Alien Covenant, and nothing that dwells there all the world. It's just that it's worth admitting that you did not make the most successful film. And perhaps it's sometimes happens some literary premise sources themselves they're difficult to film, and it's not worth being surprises that you did not work out very much. Well, not everyone succeeds, but at the same time, against the background of everything else that will happen now in the film distribution and the film industry, Dune is an event that you may have been lucky to came out when, as they say. But at the same time, Dune became hostage in the advancing company because we were promised almost a dream movie, and turned out, well, apparently a Denis Villeneuve movie, and it is not bad. It's just that you keep in the mind the fact that Denis Villeneuve is still more of the author's director. His arrival was also understood by everyone, and Blade Runner 2049 failed in the box office. And now the Dune has become out. Well, it came out, actually come out. Perhaps it will be more meaningful to summarize the full results after the release of the sequel, but for now, something like that. Once again, I draw your attention that all of the above does not apply the Lynch film, books, TV series and video games, but only a new movie. If you have watched or are ready to send me course, then you're welcome to the comments. And in order not to forget to be first to slap me with a dislike on the next review, subscribe and pull the bell. I'll see you when I see you.